4 books that deserve booktok level hype. I'm not saying that I've never heard anyone talk about these 4 books on booktok. In fact, I absolutely have. These are 4 books that I think deserve to be everywhere, to blow up on booktok, and you need to read them if you haven't already. First and foremost, we'll start with Severance by Ling Ma. If you like The Last of Us, if you like The Walking Dead, if you like post-apocalyptic fiction that equally discusses capitalism and consumerism brilliantly, please read this book. Ling Ma takes the concept of zombies and turns it into such a unique narrative where she discusses consumerism and capitalism and relationships. The extent in which things like capitalism would continue even if the world ended, it is so fascinating. The writing is equally so beautiful. This had me absolutely floored. I absolutely need to reread it. I am constantly looking for the feeling that this book gave me. It was phenomenal. Next we have The White Book by Han Kang, but equally I want to recommend anything and everything from Han Kang. I have read everything from her that has been translated into English. This still stands as probably my favourite from her. This is a book of vignettes and musings on the colour white. This one is kind of unique too because it is kind of non-fiction, fiction and poetry. It is just so beautiful, definitely kind of heavy in places. But this one changed my perspective on so many things. We also have photos in here. Like, I annotated near enough everything in this book. It is so short. I fell in love with it. Highly recommend. Next we have one of the best books that I have read all year, and that is Death Valley by Melissa Broder. I feel like I've spoken about this so many times, but I absolutely adored it. This one is definitely more for the stranger fiction sort of people. This very much discusses grief, acceptance, how you accept a loss that hasn't even really occurred yet. It was so weird, but so eloquent and so beautiful. I wholeheartedly think that Melissa Broder is one of the best writers we have today, one of the most unique, and I'm constantly floored by every single thing that she writes. To top it all off, it has also been blurred as The Chronicles of Narnia if instead of a wardrobe, it was a cactus. Go into it knowing nothing. It will be the most unique book you have ever read in your entire life. Last but certainly not least, we have an incredibly short read, and that is Hex by Jenny Fagan. I read this years ago now and I still think about it every single day. I read this in one sitting. I sobbed my eyes out at the end. In this we are following Gillis Duncan in Scotland in the 1500s where she is prosecuted for being a witch. I believe she was 14 years old and was the youngest person who was ever sentenced to because of being a witch. This is still one of the most beautiful, most heartbreaking, most astonishing reads I've ever read in my entire life. It is just under 100 pages. The fact that it packs such a punch. I genuinely, after reading probably about 200 books after this, I still think about this all of the time. I can remember so vividly reading this being like, damn, my life has changed forever. Please read this if you haven't already. I really wish more people did. But do be prepared to sob your eyes out like a little bitch at the end.